She's the midnight mistress of fairies and dark mischief. He's the paranormal beacon of mystic fairs and government leaking. If the dark side had a prom, they would be the king and queen. They live the metaphysical and make a wicked awesome team. From every single culture in every corner of the globe, they creep the lore and legends just to keep you in the know. For some it's hyperbole, fantastical, and myth. For them it's all too real and your paradigm will shift. It's forever Halloween with all treats and no tricks. He's got a thing for witches and she's all Stevie Nicks. So welcome to our carnival of the weird and the bizarre, where UFOs and curses take shape beneath the stars. Sit back, relax, open your mind, and stay a few. It's time for John and Stacy, and do we have something for you? Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacy Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacy.
Hello.
And we are in the middle of a snowstorm. We like to record these things. I mean, I'm a hardworking man. Mm-hmm. I don't get a lot of time to do these things during the middle of the week.
Right.
So just to give full disclosure right now, this is a late Saturday night. Mm-hmm. We're heading 2 to 3 o'clock hour.
It's early Sunday morning.
Yeah, the time we like to do it. Mm-hmm. So we're getting a good amount of snow. Actually, a lot more snow than we even thought we were going to get, right?
Right.
Didn't even know it had snowed until we started to record. We had the incense lit. We had everything. The mood was set. Mm-hmm.
All ready to go.
Everything's going good in our studio. Mm-hmm. And then it happens. Some psychopath down the street starts with a snowblower.
Oh my goodness.
Now let me tell you, it's nearly 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. So all I can hear is and we're like, what the heck? And start looking around, right? And Stacy's like, I bet it's that guy.
Well, that's when we found out it snowed.
Yeah. So we look outside, it snowed and everything. Needless to say, I just came back from going out and opening the front door and yelling a few encouraging words down the street because I'm that neighbor from Tennessee.
So you just had a few suggestions about what he could do with his snowblower. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
it was very neighborly.
It was I like to be that fix it guy, right? So the snowblower is not on at the moment.
No, but we do have another neighbor that will be out clearing his driveway right around 4:30 in the morning.
Right,
so
right.
We'll have to speed this along.
It's very strange, very very strange. Still getting used to Maine. Mm-hmm. Still getting used to Mainers and their love for snowblowers and sleds.
Something about motorized snow removal.
Man, we are good with drinking some coffee, sitting in the house and watching some horror movies, that kind of stuff.
We're like, oh, look, it snowed. We can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, I wish it was like that during the week.
I know.
I have no choice. I have to. It doesn't matter if they take really good care of the roads. That's the thing. People like anywhere else other than New England,
right? Do
not realize how well the New England road crews are.
No, because
I have to be out of the house most of the time by 7:30, and it is absolutely clear.
Yeah.
There might
do
be
a great job.
There might be 13 feet of snow on the side of the road, but
it might take you a little while to get out of the end of your driveway where they've plowed it all up.
Well, I have some stores and some funky locations too, though.
Right.
They did not bless me with my region. It's quite a. Let's just say they're not entirely beside the interstate.
Exactly.
Not on every one of them. So we had Valentine's this past week.
Yes.
I hope everybody had a really good Valentine's Day. I hate you all. Valentine's has been a curse, as we have documented this even on the Sideshow, I believe. Since we've been doing it as the Sideshow, I have a curse of old Saint Valentine. And so for years and years, I'm talking back in teenage land, it was always a curse. It goes back to Amy Mountain. And honey, I hate to talk about another girl.
It's okay.
But it goes back
to my first grade girlfriend, Amy Mountain. And
I'm so jealous.
And I went and got her a box of chocolate.
Aw, you're so sweet.
And dressed up in a suit.
Aw,
okay, so
little John in a suit. Did you have a bow tie?
I had this little blue suit and jacket, vest, everything, dress shoes, all of it. Had my mom and dad drive me to her house on Valentine's Day, and we had been boyfriend and girlfriend. She'd been going with me.
Right.
We didn't even hold hands, dude. I mean, we were kids. She was my first kiss. Closed mouth, like. But she was still my first kiss. But so I wanted to go all out because it's me,
right?
And I got her a card, and I got her flowers, and I got her a box of chocolate.
You've always been the romantic type.
And I went to her house, and I remember being terrified. Oh my God, I was so scared, but I knew this was going to be great, right? This is going to be the greatest thing ever. And I went and I knocked on the door. Oh my God. And her mom answered the door, and it was just so terrifying. And I was like, is Amy home?
Oh, I bet her mom was just gooing over you.
And so she came down the stairs, and she had brothers and sisters, and they were like laughing and pointing. They were on the stairs, and the mom kept yelling at them to go upstairs. And Amy stood there, and I gave her I was like, here, this is for you. I got this for you. And she was like, thank you, and all this stuff. And we talked for just a second. My mom and dad stayed in the car, and I went back and got in the car. And when I got in the car, I felt so incredible. Like I was so filled with love. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I was just so filled with love. It was the next, good Lord, it was the next day we had a field trip, and on the field trip she wouldn't look at me, talk to me, anything, and her friends told me that she didn't want anything to do with me.
Aww.
I think her brothers and sisters must have done something. Anyway,
probably just teased her mercilessly.
That was the start of my Valentine's curse. And it went, I mean, I can't even talk about some of the things that have happened to me on Valentine's Day. So it's went through my adult life, right? Like I have found out terrible things on Valentine's Day, friends that I've lost, like, dude, it's all happened on Valentine's Day. Okay. Crazy stuff. And next level stuff. So I usually don't even want to go out. Like I'll feign like not feeling well and not wanting to go somewhere. So this year, I did my work thing and just tried not to really put it over the whole day, and went through the work day and all this stuff. And that night we actually we went at nighttime to the ocean, and probably shouldn't have been there at the time we were there. And I won't say where we were at, but we'll just say it was a little public parky kind of thing. But we went out and got on these rocks, Stacy and I, and because the ocean, we documented last week how I feel about that. So we climbed to this rock out near these rocks that are famous for sweeping people away. I don't know what the hell we were thinking, and there, of course it's still February, so there's ice on these rocks. We were
like, that'd be a cool picture.
Yeah, except it was dark. And so we climbed and we got on these rocks, and there's not a lot of really tall waves in Maine. It's just the way it is, but so we're there on those rocks, and it's like Hawaii 5-0 waves. I mean, these waves start coming in, and dude, it was just like fight or flight. It was like, oh God, we're going to be a statistic. But no, we had a really good time. And then we went to a frozen pond and bravely didn't walk on it.
We looked at it.
We held hands. We were like, you want to walk? No, because it's us and it's Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
That was the whole thing, is like, we'll be dead. It's period. But, I won't go through every frivolous little thing that we got each other. There was chocolates involved, and
there's always chocolates involved with me,
stuff like that. But I got Stacy this, and I'm sure anyone with a Facebook has seen this thing. Maybe they just targeted me, like they're targeting me with this Norse box. There's a box for everything. There's the wrestle crate
because they listen to you. They heard us talking about you being a Viking.
There's a supernatural crate. There's a Norse crate now. I'm like, God. But this was My Night Sky. I think it's mynightsky.com. And it was such a cool thing. I was like, I got to get her that. And
I was so surprised. It was so sweet and romantic, just like you.
And she had no idea.
No, so it's like a picture of the night sky on the night that we met, like exactly where we were at. So it's very cool.
Bristol, Tennessee, May 2nd. Some of you may have been there.
So now it's all framed and looking pretty and hanging on our wall.
It was our first kiss. It was our first dance. It was a cool night.
Yes, it was very cool.
But yeah, man, that was a long time ago. It was a very long time ago. So Stacy, in the art of one-upmanship,
I got you a very romantic present as well.
Stacy got me tickets to the New Japan Pro Wrestling Ring of Honor huge event, and that's coming up, and it's a number of months away, but she got me incredible tickets. Not just tickets, incredible tickets. It's really cool because I'm really into Japanese wrestling. So very, very cool. I've got the best wife ever, and I seriously incredible. We have fun every day, man. Every day is Valentine's Day, so we don't really need it, but it's still fun to reaffirm. And I believe that we broke the curse. Nothing really bad happened on that.
No.
Speaking of work, though, this is kind of funny.
Okay.
So this week was they're all long weeks, but this week was extra long hours, and it's just a lot of stuff to get done. There was quite a few things pop up. I had a meeting that I hosted with my team, and my boss ended up being there for that meeting. And it's one of those things. I guess it's some of my training, but I know when there's rumors and allegations floating around, right? Another podcast I like to listen to, we'll just say rumor and innuendo. But when that stuff is floating around, I can pick it up.
Right.
So there was a couple of guys that thought it was a cool thing that they had found my podcast, right? and you got to look at it. I am, as bosses go, I'm pretty grumpy. I mean,
yeah, I guess. I don't know. I've never worked for you, but I can imagine.
I expect 100%. That's what I put in. That's what I expect you to do. But when I was a manager, that's what I did.
You did.
And had store of the year. I won any award they put out there, and my team did. Team did. I always had amazing teams. But like I said before, I always believed in assembling teams of people that were better than me.
Right.
At different things, and I truly believe that. And so we've done a really good job in what I do with the Bruce Wayne job.
Right.
And but my boss was up here, and we get along really well anyway. But it was kind of funny because he didn't know any of this. And my only target, my only goal, it's funny because if you only know me in the one aspect, that's what you know me for. Like if you're from wrestling, I'm John Hawkins,
right?
And you know me as John Hawkins. That's all we talk about is wrestling,
right?
If you know me from the music, that blah 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 blah. Paranormal, it's just the paranormal. It's this stuff. And work, it's just work, and I can talk it forever because that's just what I do, right? And so it's not something that ever comes up. And I decided in the meeting was pretty, as far as meetings go, it was all, buy, sell. It was work.
Right.
And so I had asked the guys as an icebreaker at the first of the meeting to tell me something we didn't know about you. Right. So when we did something that we didn't know about me, that's what I did.
You told them you had the podcast.
I told them. So I told them all, and my boss wrote it down. I don't know if he's actually listened. I think he said he listened. But and there's some of those guys I know they've subscribed and listened, which is great. It's fine. I've got a really good team anyway, so I don't have to really hide it. If they were all guys that I was going to terminate tomorrow, probably wouldn't tell them about this.
Right.
But I expect a lot. I'm a perfectionist, and you know that well. So it's always been that way. No matter what I do, I want to win.
Right.
And I want to get to the next level of stuff. So the guys down south where we came from, they already knew. And they loved it. They ate it up, because it's always been our extra thing. But it was just really funny because some of the people in the room, especially some of the ones that I ride really hard, it's hard for them to see that I'm actually a human.
That you don't just work all the time.
Right, exactly.
I gotcha.
That there may be that moment that I don't have that laptop in front of me, or I'm not checking the stocks or something, you know?
Right.
So, pretty funny stuff. And, you know, like I said, it's been an extremely long week this week. So I will say it could be the long week that's caused this, but I had a strange night this week. Like I had one of those paranormal nights.
Did you?
It was, I had a weird dream. Very weird dream, and in the dream I was like in a black room, and there was a window, and there was these two, I don't know how to say this, let's just say otherworldly type gents, right, and they were kind of looking at me in the room that I was in, and I was laying down, but everything was black. And I kind of noticed him, right? And I was like checking him out, and I gave him kind of the WTF, and it was almost like they weren't doing their job right, and they shuffled and dropped their crap, and all of a sudden hit some buttons, and it started showing memories of my life on
that's weird.
On the window. It went from a see-through window to like a projector.
And did you see behind the curtain?
Yeah,
is this what's happened?
It was really strange. Like I had to laugh about it because I could see these guys getting fired. Like
they were like, oh, holy crap.
Yeah, like if I had got abducted or something, those guys got canned.
They're like the night shift.
Oh yeah. They were like the part-time guys that would, you know,
interns.
They got them through like some kind of like alien gray temp agency. You know, it's you know, somebody called Gray Power and got them in there to work. And
you know, that kind of stuff usually only happens to you when I'm not actually in, like if I fall asleep in Ariana's room.
And you fell asleep in Ariana's room that night. And it was, you know, crazy. It was one of those things. I got up and there was still shadows in the room. Like it was really scary. But I was more amused at the fact that these bumbling Keystone Cop aliens or whatever in my dream.
Right.
Because I was just sitting there staring at them. And then all of a sudden they sold it. They were kind of like, oh crap, you know, and like hitting buttons. And
that's funny. What an odd dream.
Yeah. And then I actually, what I seen on the window was my old collie that I had when I was like 2 years old.
Huh.
It was like my collie running through the field. And
that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's a happy memory. There's like sunflowers and, you know.
Right. Was there music playing in the background?
It's a very, you know, no. But, you know, it's a very soothing dream. Just very strange, Joe. I thought I would throw that out there for nothing more than humor.
It's really weird.
You know,
really weird.
Very weird. I'm going to do something, and we've done this quite a bit, but I was told to do this.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you build your own vision here.
Okay.
I was told to tease some stuff.
Okay.
And for a long time, I was told to not say anything.
Right.
And then I was told to tease.
Right.
So I'm going to tease, just a quick tease. Now I'm going to say John and Stacy have something big brewing.
We have actually teased slightly.
We teased. Yes. We gave some good hints too late in the shows.
Yes.
Late in the shows, especially if it's a long show, if you've made it an hour and 10 minutes, I'm like, all right,
you deserve something.
All right, here it is. So here's what's going on. No, I'm not going to tell you yet. I will say this: we've already got our own independent documentaries that are on YouTube, and we've done podcasts. You know, I've had my appearance on Ghost Brothers. We've done a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of cons, and you know, that was some great fun stuff. We've done some of our favorite investigations around the country, and all that stuff's really good. And we're actually right now in our planning stages for this year for a lot of the great vlogs that we're going to be doing coming up, and some of the investigations we have coming up. Doing all the planning for that. So it's not any of those things, obviously. I will say that it's in the vein of what we do, right? Of this, and it's something pretty. I think it's huge. I think it's pretty huge. Thanks. And so it's been going on for a year and a half, 2 years.
A lot of planning. Lots of planning.
Let's just say there's been a lot of planning, and there's been a lot of discussions and planning and things,
and a lot of work by us and people that are not us.
Yeah, people that are not us have worked extraordinarily hard.
Yes.
And people that are us have been blown away by the whole process and humbled and honored and had a great time doing this. So if what this tease doesn't happen, then we will probably tell you regardless once that's all free and clear. And if it does happen, you're going to find out whether we tell you or not, because it's going to be pretty obvious.
Yes.
So there you go. I am not going to
tell you what, that was quite the tease.
Do you think that was too much of a tease?
No. Can you have too much of a tease?
You want to try?
No.
Oh. If you want to see if you can like over tease me.
Over tease, is that a thing?
Well, I really kind of want to find out.
Find out if over tease is a thing.
All right. So, there's big things coming. And a lot of times you can find those at ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything tease. Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. There's a whole lot of teasing going on. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. There's an occasional tease that pops up and you don't even think that you're following that person. Instagram, Hot Tease Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. YouTube.com/ParanormalSideshow. That's where we have the teasiest vlog in the world. You can go there and watch all the teasing happening. We are also available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, however you want to listen. That's where we're going to tease you. And, we've had a lot of people on Spotify. Jeez Louisa. Spotify's kind of taking the mantle there of... taken over from the iHeartRadio and the iTunes, but hey, wherever you're listening to us, God, we love you. And that was a GAH. That was a God, we love you. Really appreciate you listening every week. Hashtag Mommy Daddy Time. There's a lot of fun we like to have, and we really appreciate you. Subscribe so we can appreciate you more. Leave a comment. We appreciate you. Super more. That's my own word.
That's fine.
And especially, even on YouTube, like subscribe on there and all that good stuff. So we love you, and it's time for some paranormal news.
Okay, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
I can't believe you went through that whole opening and didn't mention the weird thing that happened with the TV the other night.
Oh, I didn't mention that.
No, you didn't.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that was very crazy. Conspiracy level crazy.
Yes, because you've been hearing all that stuff about how they put cameras in your smart TVs, and they're like one pixel big,
right?
And you don't know. So tell them what happened the other night.
Right. So we had just actually seen and everybody's seen the report last year on specific TVs and stuff. So what it was there was some conspiracy sites actually last week talking about, they were showing this clip from ESPN, and they were on there, and there was some kind of basketball game, and they were saying, the announcer came on and he goes, hey, we've got this player here, let's just say Jake Jackson, and
we don't watch basketball.
Good Woody basketball name. So they were like, yeah, we got this player Jake Jackson from Uruguay, and he's like, just so happens they've got a smart TV and we could see them, and so
showed us a picture
of them sitting there watching a game, and they're like, yeah, we have this technology now where we can actually see you if you're watching a game
through your smart TV. Yeah,
okay,
because
so
ESPN is on the cutting edge of technology.
Yeah, so they could be, that could have been in jest, that could have been that could have been a joke, they could have known about this, whatever, that could have been, right? So, but it was just so weird because that opened up some conversations about last year when, I believe it was Samsung that came out and said, look, our smart TV, was used by the NSA or whatever. So some crazy stuff there, right? And then we were watching Joe Rogan. And he was talking about the pixels and how the one pixel can see you and all this stuff with that. And they're using that, and they're admittedly using these smart TVs and smart devices to spy on us, spy on your own people, and all this, as we know is happening, which is just completely crazy. And there's also those programs. A few years ago, there was a program that was I don't know if it was leaked or whatever, but keywords they were looking for.
Right.
Homeland Security was looking for phone calls or for text messages or whatever. Bang up job they're doing there, by the way, considering some of the bad stuff happening in the nation. But anyway, this program, because me and my friends got the program, got the words, and we would like have conversations trying to fit in every one of the keywords in one conversation. So anyway, we were sitting there the other night, and I start telling the girls something about something that's going to happen that I felt was going to happen, and I used some very probably big keywords. And while I'm talking about this very conspiracy laden conversation, our TV out of nowhere, as we're watching a network program, appears to take a picture.
It flashed
like your camera, like your inward facing camera will the screen where it doesn't have a flash on the inside, the screen becomes the flash, and it kind of goes black and goes and comes back with a flash.
And I do want to point out that we had the program paused, so it wasn't something that happened during the show. We paused it so we could have our conversation. So everything was still. The TV was still, and I saw it straight on, like it just, and I was like, that was weird. Yeah.
It's never happened before, and that we've noticed, and I mean, man, we've got smart everything. Just we're very technology driven people, and so we never care. Like, we don't turn off the tracking, because the way we look at it is it's convenience for us, and it doesn't bother me. If they want to listen to me, they're going to listen to me. So I'm never going to be that guy with the, trying to paint lead inside my house to keep people from being able to see or whatever. If they want to see us, they're going to see us. If they want to take us, they're going to take. I mean,
it's not that we think that it's right. It's just that they're going to do it
regardless, especially on someone that has a show that talks about that stuff.
Exactly.
So we just go with it, man. We just go with it. We kind of just open the curtains when we lay down in bed. You know what I'm saying?
It was very strange. I know sometimes we'll be having conversations about some kind of conspiracy, and we'll actually talk to, like, the people who are listening to us in the van out in the street. We're like, do you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Do we need to get closer to the phone?
Yeah. I said FEMA camp.
But it was very strange. Yeah. Definitely very strange.
Very weird. Sorry I didn't mention that.
That's okay. So let's get into the news now. Now, this first story is actually kind of an update for a story that we did a while back, actually.
You're like the update queen anymore.
Well, when updates come up, you just got to go with it.
No, that's great. I love it. I love it.
Well, this is from a story that we did back on episode 34, which was the Mysterious Booms episode.
Oh, yeah.
We had a couple stories on there that were about different mysteries. And one of them was about this mystery plane that flew over Northern California that could not be picked up on radar.
That was a crazy story.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And the guy that did the article that I was reading actually said that they were going to file a Freedom of Information Act to try and get more information.
Because I think I said something like, good luck with that.
Yes, well, they got the information.
That's crazy.
Yes, so he has put this new article out now because they've gotten all kinds of recordings and maps and things because of their Freedom of Information Act that they filed.
Somebody lost their job.
So the incident that we're talking about actually happened last October.
Right.
And there was a plane that was spotted. It was spotted on radar for a second, but then it fell off of radar. And they had to scramble, get different pilots to try and watch it. They have no idea. It was an unmarked plane. It was flying at like 37,000 feet at a high rate of speed. It wouldn't talk to anybody. They couldn't pick it up on their radar.
Stuck up plane.
And even the other planes couldn't use their communications to get in touch with it. Like, nobody has any idea what this plane was or whatever it was.
Right.
And then, they lost it. So the mystery's still out there. Nobody knows what it is. So this guy got all of this information, and what he did was he went through all of the recordings, all the tapes, and he made 4 videos kind of highlighting what was in all this information.
Right.
All right. So what he's got was the first video that he's got on this article, and I'm going to link to this because it's really interesting, and he encourages you to listen to it in full, that it's very eye-opening and mysterious. But supposedly the we'll call him the intruder, the weird plane or whatever, he quickly dropped off the radar, and you can hear all the communication between the people on the ground and the pilots where they're trying to make visual contact. And that lasted for a while, like, hundreds of miles, about half an hour, something like that. And then you hear when they first scramble the F-15s.
Crazy.
Because they sent F-15s out. Now, something that I thought was really interesting is in the first article, we talked about a guy that said that he thought that the F-15s went in the wrong direction. And according to this, he even points out that it's interesting that the F-15s first went south when they should have gone north. So they really did start going out in the wrong direction, which means that's probably why they didn't catch this guy.
Yeah, maybe on purpose.
Yeah. So then the second video that he made is just all of this radar data that they gave him, just so you can see all the data. The third video is all FAA phone calls. And you can actually, all the phone calls between the operations manager in charge at the Seattle Center, the FAA, just everybody they called. They didn't edit it down except for they took the dead space out between the calls. That's all the editing they did. He did mention that they're not sure if anything was redacted before they got it. But he did put it all in the video in full. So it was pretty interesting. So the last video is actually the most interesting because there are people calling each other trying to figure out what happened. And it's obvious that they have no idea what this was or what was going on. You also get to hear phone calls between the pilots that visually saw it in the air. There's like 3 pilots. And the Oakland Center, where they're trying to get statements and that sort of thing.
Was it NORAD involved in this and everything?
I am not sure. I think so. I think they tried to go around figuring out who scrambled the F-15s. And that sort of thing. One of the pilots, the most interesting one, he says he was noting that he's been a pilot for over 30 years and how strange this encounter was. That it was like a private jet, but there was no markings on it, and it was the strangest thing he'd ever seen.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So the whole thing was just very mysterious, and all of this information really just makes it that much more mysterious.
Nobody knows. It's insanity. It's insanity that you can be in our airspace and get away with this in this day and time, especially with all the bloody security we have now.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
It's hard to believe that can actually happen. And it went to Canada, right? They're
actually not sure because they just had the visuals from the pilots, and all the pilots landed like in Portland, Oregon and stuff. Nobody followed it. Nobody continued. One thing that I thought was really strange in this article is he was talking about on one of the phone calls how the manager from the Oakland Center was saying how the aircraft first appeared to be going southbound, but then did some kind of abrupt maneuver and started heading north.
Wow.
And maybe that's why the F-15s went in the wrong direction.
I don't know.
It was very strange. And he said it seemed like they even had a hard time figuring out how they were going to report it. Like it was just, they were just clueless.
Yeah.
Which is not very comforting.
No.
At all.
Well, this one, I believe they were clueless.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't believe they're covering anything up. I believe that. No. Well, I believe that we wouldn't have heard about it if they were covering up. Of course, somebody did see it, but
right.
It's just insanity. I talked about the Roswell or the Area 51. I apologize. The Area 51 planes, but those are everybody knows what those planes are and what they look like.
They're not unmarked.
No,
either.
no, they're not. Yeah. They're not. This is just crazy. And I'm even mentioned ghost plane. I don't believe that's what it was. I believe that there's probably something nefarious about it.
Absolutely. It was definitely trying to be stealthy and hidden.
Right. So it's probably some kind of, I don't know, Bilderberg retreat or something.
I don't know, but I thought it was cool that they actually did get the information when they asked for it.
It's weird that they did. So, like I said,
it is.
There again, some temp guy.
Somebody's in trouble.
He's like in the Freedom of Information part. He's like, these nice people are asking for that's right here.
Yeah, I'll just copy all that.
Let me send there. Next day, it's like Johnson.
Did you deny all those Freedom of Information Act claims?
Yeah, it's like your job. What do I do here, sir? Oh, you hit this deny. The redactor. That would be the fun job.
The redactor.
Yeah.
You just sit there with a big thing full of Sharpie markers.
Right. Yeah. How much did you get redacted today, sir? It's crazy. I don't know.
Well, anyway, definitely go check out the article and look at the videos, listen to all the stuff. It's very, very interesting.
You know, we should like patent something and sell it to the government. You know how people sell the government stuff for like the $200,000 toilet seats and stuff?
Right.
We should make like a better Sharpie for redacting and just call it the redactor. And you know what I'm saying?
We could make an instant redactor, just a big square plate with black ink, and they can just covers the whole paper.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's a good idea.
One swoop. There you go. Completely redacted.
Or just something with your, you know, I don't know. There has to be something we could do to sell them.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna look on the government. Like there's a website, right, that shows all the government contracts you can bid for.
No idea. Maybe.
I'm gonna just name it the redactor. I'll just put a piece of tape over where it says Sharpie and like write redactor.
And charge them a lot of money.
Not that I don't have faith in the government or anything.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Let's.
So this next story was really, really crazy. This is about the skier.
Oh God.
That ended up like 3,000 miles away, and nobody has any idea what happens.
Dear God. Okay. So, well, let me preface this. If you kids don't know this one, sit back, go ahead, pop yourself an adult beverage, and enjoy what you're about to hear, because you're going to feast your ears on one of the strangest freaking things I've heard in a while.
It's very crazy. So there's this Toronto firefighter named Konstantinos Philippidis. He goes by Danny.
Okay.
And he was skiing. He was on like an annual ski trip with some colleagues at Whiteface Mountain in New York.
Right. Whiteface? Is that the name of it?
Whiteface Mountain.
Okay.
I guess because there's snow.
No, yeah, I got you. I got you.
So on February 7th, he was reported missing.
Okay.
That was a Wednesday. Nobody could find him.
Right.
And all of his stuff was still at the ski resort, like his belongings, his car, everything. He was skiing, totally missing. So they launched this ridiculously large search party.
Right.
I mean, just tons of people, helicopters, 6-day search.
Wow.
They kept looking for him. So on Tuesday of the next week, he turned up in Sacramento, California.
Okay, where did it start at again?
New York.
Okay, so, New York, Whiteface Mountain, skiing.
Yes.
And his stuff was still in his car.
At the ski lodge. His car was still there. Right. So he turned up 2,500 miles away in Sacramento, California. He was confused. He had no idea how he got there.
Okay.
Still wearing his ski clothes and goggles.
What?
Yes. And he has absolutely no idea. He actually called his wife, and she recognized his voice, and she called 911.
Right.
And the police finally found him and tried to get him home, but he has no idea, no recollection, no idea how he got to California. Some of the things that he said he remembered was he thought he'd suffered a head injury.
Okay.
He said he rode in a big rig style truck.
Okay.
And he slept a lot. That's all that he remembers.
That's insane.
It is insane. And I did happen to see a report that said that when he was in California, he actually bought an iPhone so he could call his wife.
Okay, that's just...
This just seems really strange.
So how did he buy an iPhone without money?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how any of... And I don't know why he would buy an iPhone just to call his wife instead of just saying, can I borrow your phone to call my wife?
No, I mean, it's... So he left his phone in New York.
I mean, as far as I know, now the report I read just said all of his things.
Well, so obviously he left his phone
he was
somewhere.
Skiing. I'm assuming his phone, his wallet, and stuff were there still.
Yeah. So and then he bought a phone when he got there, and
and called his wife and claims he has no idea how he got there. And those little bits were the only things.
He's
he
still
remembered.
wearing the ski stuff.
Still wearing his ski outfit
in
from
California.
the last week, and the goggles.
Yeah.
And everything. So very, very strange.
Right.
They also said that he got a haircut.
What? No, hold on a second.
Yeah.
He got a haircut.
Yes. In downtown Sacramento, he bought an iPhone to call his wife, and that a truck dropped him off, and he got a haircut. Because all that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Did he stop at a taco truck?
It doesn't say that he stopped at a taco truck, no.
Well, then he's missing the boat, because I hear the taco trucks in California are just to die for. So, All right, let's try to break this down.
Okay.
And I apologize. This one's freaky.
Mm-hmm.
This one's freaky. All right, so I mean, where do you go?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Okay, so the guy's skiing. Okay,
He's skiing. Yes.
the guy is skiing. He's there with other people. This is not just him. This is other firefighters.
Right, and it's an annual thing, something they do every year.
Annual thing. This guy's been a firefighter for a long time.
Yes.
And so he's respected, right? He's got a family. It seems to be that he should be happy and everything, and there's no reason to think otherwise. So as they're skiing at this ski lodge or at this ski resort, he goes missing.
Right.
And they look for him, and of course nobody's seen him leave, which is also odd. Very, very odd. So he shows up 6 days later in California, 2,900 miles away, 2,500 miles away, regardless, the other side of the country, let's call it what it is.
Right.
So he shows up there, and supposedly he remembers being in a truck. Where would he have gotten a truck at? Not at the ski place.
He says he thinks he suffered a head injury.
You would have seen it, right? So he thinks he suffered a head injury. He some reason gets a freaking haircut. Is groggy, doesn't, has moments of lucidity, just really crazy, man. Really crazy. Buys the phone, still wearing his freaking ski stuff.
Well, and he also said that a truck dropped him off down there.
And a truck dropped him off. And why would they drop him off? Why did they have him in the first place?
Right.
Why would they have not tried to find help for him if it was just some neighborly truck driver? I mean, if the guy got cold feet, like, I'm going to leave everything behind, I'm going to run away.
Right.
That would be one of the first things you would think. But then I don't think if you did that, you would have left your goods and still been wearing your ski stuff. Like, if you're going to run away from everything and try to start a new life, you're going to, even if you won't leave your crap there to make them think you went missing and just be anonymous somewhere, it seems that you wouldn't plan out to have something other than ski stuff to wear.
Right. You'd try to blend and disappear.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that part doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. None of this makes sense.
No.
And this is one of those. This is one of those once every so often stories. This is not the kind of story you get every day. This is the kind of story that ends up with Fire in the Sky being written.
Right.
When the Travis Walton stuff happened, it made news, and people were like, "Oh, that's crazy. This guy was gone," and then he comes back. A lot of the stuff that David Paulides writes about national parks doesn't make news because the national parks are a crooked organization that hides the fact that people go missing.
Right.
But this is nuts. I mean, this is nuts. Okay, so here's my opinion.
Okay.
This is either a huge fraud,
right?
So this guy can sell a book or make a movie. Just a complete huge faux thing that happened.
Right.
But that seems very hard to believe. Okay. Because he could be facing felonies for the amount of money, and also when a search happens, that costs tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people, like over 140 people searching for him, helicopters, the whole shebang.
So, I mean, you can go upwards hundreds of thousands of dollars of when a search happens. And if you are faking something, you're held liable. They could sue you for that.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things here that just don't add up.
Right. It doesn't seem like it's foul play either, because none of that makes sense. Like,
because he's not dead.
Yeah. Well, if somebody hit him over the head and put him in a truck and drove him to California, why would they drop him off and leave him? None of that makes any sense. Well,
we know there's a lot of interstate slavery. We know that slavery is a huge thing right now, but it's normally young girls, young boys, not firemen that are skiing down a mountain.
Right.
So then you got to go to something crazy actually happening. What if it's an MK Ultra type deal? What if it's somebody they have, that they've done something to, and he works government service. I mean,
true. I mean, there's a very real possibility that he just blanked out and went, like, hitched a ride and just had no idea what he was doing.
It could be a mental health thing, you're saying.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
the possibilities are,
It is.
all these are possibilities. Okay. Of course, I want to jump to the fact that he's a government mind control,
Or that he
subject.
somehow teleported or something.
Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, the teleport would be really crazy. I just teleported a pen out of my hand. If you heard that,
It was just a really long teleport. It just took a long time.
yeah, it's a very old technology teleport system we're using here. No, I don't know. It's nuts, and that's why that's what's fun about this stuff, and that's why we love it. So we love bringing you these kinds of stories. If you know anything more about it, please get a hold of us and let us know.
I'm hoping something else will come out about it.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely. And if you hear something about it, let us know.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next story. This one's kind of interesting. You're going to like this. Okay, so this is a story about some pieces of a supposed wrecked UFO that crash landed about 60 years ago, found in a museum. In the back of a museum.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Well, let me go back to when the story first broke.
Okay.
So it was December 9th, 1957.
Right.
Yeah. And the Yorkshire Post revealed this mystery object that was shaped like a large, flattish, spinning top.
Flattish.
Yeah.
Cool.
It actually wasn't huge. It was a small
Right.
disc, but it was found on the moors.
Oh.
On the moors, yes. So what happened was a businessman named Frank Dickinson, he was 42 then, he claimed that he and two of his friends were driving up Reesty Hill near the village of Silpho at night when his car stalled and they saw a glowing object in the sky. Okay. And it appeared to fall to the ground. So they got out and they climbed up the bank and they found this metallic saucer lying in the patch on the moor. So they went back to the car. Like, one guy went up there to find it, and he went back to the car and he got his other buddies and they climbed back up there. But when they got back up there, it was gone. And there were some other people around. So he put an advertisement in the newspaper asking for this object that supposedly was there and then was missing. And an anonymous person brought it to him. He paid them and he got this little mini flying saucer. Okay, so after he got the flying saucer back, he took it to a friend of his and they examined it, right? And they pried it open, and inside they found traces of ash, fused glass, and a little copper book that had a coil of hollow tubing wrapped around it. And supposedly the book had 17 thin copper sheets, and it had like weird hieroglyphics on it. And this cafe owner that was a friend of this man that was helping him pry this open, his name was Philip Longbottom.
Right.
He supposedly deciphered the hieroglyphics in the book, and he claimed that it contained a bizarre 2,000-word message allegedly sent to Earth by an alien called Yulo, who wanted to warn us about atomic warfare, and it contained the warning, "You will improve or disappear."
Wow.
So this is the story, and the paper ran the story about all the stuff that's happened, right? And for decades after that, it just went missing. Like, nobody knew what happened to it.
Right.
So fast forward.
Right. Okay.
60 years later, they've actually found pieces of this supposed UFO in a tin cigar box at the Science Museum Group's archive.
Wow. Did they find the copper book?
No, they just found it had like a few little pieces of the outside of the craft, like a piece of the tubing, and couple of little pieces off of the book.
Okay.
But none of the whole thing. Like, nobody knows where the whole thing is.
Right.
But they did find these actual little pieces, and they found some paperwork where they had sent it around trying to get it tested. Nobody seemed to think that it was anything from outer space. Like, I think the consensus was that it was a very, very elaborate hoax. But they really don't know because it went missing. So who knows? But it was cool they found these extra little pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's groovy.
Well, they call it the Silpho Moor object.
Yeah.
And I mean, it went to London in 1963 to be examined, and it went to a couple other people. And the only thing that was a little bit unusual was that they did some tests at Manchester University, and it revealed that the object's shell contained lead and copper that were of unusually high purity.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a little strange.
That is weird, yeah.
Yes. But they still said that there was no evidence that it came to Earth from outer space.
Right.
So, but I find it strange that the whole thing's missing.
No, that's good. It's crazy. I've heard a lot about the little disc, though.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
Yes.
So,
well, this article is really cool, and if you go, you can see all the pieces that they actually found
Right.
that were left, and it actually has a link to like the original article from 1957.
Oh, that's
with
cool.
the story and all of that, and it's kind of just a fun little thing to keep reading. I guess they'll probably bring those pieces out and put them on display now.
oh, I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a cool little story and cool little thing to, for tourism and stuff.
But I mean, what is it with museums and sticking things in boxes on back shelves
I don't know,
and then
it happens
forgetting about
It
them?
happens all the time. It's like those skulls, the elongated skulls and stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, we've got that somewhere back here.
I mean, is it against the rules for museums to hire like people to catalog that stuff and keep track of it?
I don't know.
I mean,
it's just it's weird. And you know what? A lot of it is
What's that?
probably severe underfunding.
Probably.
A lot of it is, sadly enough, is people don't care about the arts and they don't care about things like that. And if you're in government, if you're doing the budgets, it's like, well, we're going to put this to a black project, this to a black project. Oh, museums, yeah, let's cut their funding. I'm just saying, teachers, stuff like that, professors, it's always the first to get screwed.
I know there's some museums though, anything unusual or strange, it just goes in the back room.
I'd like to see the Smithsonian's back room.
I'm telling you, some of those crates.
Yeah.
I bet they have warehouses.
You know they do. Warehouse 13 is probably one of the most accurate shows there ever was.
I love that show.
Me too.
All right, so let's move on to this next story. And this is kind of like a story we did last time.
Well, it's kind of like a story we'll do next time too.
It's about them finding an ancient city using LiDAR technology. Remember we talked about...
Wait, did you hear that?
That was my stomach.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I apologize. I was trying to just go over it.
Jesus Christ, that sounded like somebody's voice going, hi there.
It's my stomach going, could you please eat something?
What the hell?
I'm hungry.
Eat a sandwich.
It's the middle of the night. I'm usually asleep right now.
Oh my God.
I apologize.
What does it get vocal tone at?
I don't know. It only does that when we're recording or if we're on an investigation.
Give me a second.
All right, so last time we talked about them, how they found in the jungles of Guatemala, the big city, the Mayan ruins, 60,000 buildings. So this time they've used it to reveal an ancient city in western Mexico.
Oh.
It's not quite as big as the Mayan city, but it's much bigger than what they anticipated.
Right.
And so what they've done is they've recently discovered a city known as Angamuco. And it's not as densely populated, but it extended over 26 kilometers of ground. And they've used the LiDAR to find the buildings, and they've actually put boots on the ground, and people have verified these buildings are there.
Wow.
So they've actually can get into these areas, and they haven't excavated any of them, but they have actually verified that these are real buildings.
So the LiDAR's changing the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
What era do they think these are from? Does it say?
Yeah. So according to the people that are doing it, it said more than 100,000 people are thought to have lived here between 1000 AD and 1350 AD.
Okay.
So it's ended up being a bigger city than one that they previously thought was there as like a capital city.
Right.
This one's much bigger.
Very cool.
So it's really cool. And this is something that they've been doing since like 2011. So they've sort of just been going back and forth using the LiDAR and then sending people out and using the LiDAR and sending people out. And they found over 7,000 architectural features so far in this particular area.
Well, just imagine what kind of artifacts you could find from that far back. I mean, dude, you're talking early renditions of Bibles. You're talking,
Once I get to in there and start excavating and stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the things, like I know with the Guatemalan jungle, it was mostly, it was the platforms for the houses and the causeways and things like that. And see, on this one, they've found pyramids and temples, road systems, garden areas, ball courts. I mean, everything, like whole, just sophisticated, very advanced civilization, more advanced than what I guess you would have thought it would have been.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So this LiDAR technology is actually really amazing.
It is. It's really changing everything, especially with the thick canopies. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
It is. And so the 7,000 architectural features are actually the number that they verified. They believe that there's more than 40,000.
Wow.
So it's just crazy. It's absolutely
it's
crazy.
just exciting what we're going to be able to find.
Yeah,
like that.
I couldn't imagine being an archaeologist now and being able to use that technology. I mean, how exciting is that?
It's very exciting. I think we're going to be able to finally start pinpointing the fact that we've been around a lot longer, as we always talk about.
Right. And once they start, because I feel like once they start excavating some of those buildings, they're going to learn a lot more that they even don't know now.
Absolutely.
Just surprising things. Very
Absolutely.
surprising
Now,
things.
if we could just blow all the sand off the desert, we would find all kinds of stuff.
And if we could get to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Goals. That's what they need to work towards.
Goals. Yeah.
Okay, so this next story is actually a very strange one.
Really?
They're all that way. This is the one about the trees, about 100 trees in the middle of a national park that just were blown over mysteriously. This story came out. This happened right at the end of January. Some kind of event, they aren't even sure what it is, came through and knocked down over 100 like old big trees, and they were all bent over, completely fallen down.
Where was this at?
In Washington's Olympic Peninsula.
Oh,
There's
one of my favorite places.
Yes. So they went out there to check it out, and it was very odd because it was just this one area and everything around it was fine. But then this one area, all the trees were completely laying on their side. And they're not little trees, they're big trees.
No, yeah, it's huge trees. That's like where Jacob and his gang of werewolves used to run around.
So the initial explanation was that a microburst happened.
And a microburst could happen.
It could. But
I've seen a microburst take a house down and nothing else around it was
right. I mean, that is a real thing. That is a real thing. But it turns out that the surface wind records from around that time didn't show any major winds. And it was like going in the wrong direction for the way these trees had fallen.
Okay.
So it was very, very unusual. And it was a mystery.
Right.
And so now recently, there's this blog called Cliff Mass Weather and Climate Blog. And Cliff Mass is like this really well-respected weather guy in that area.
Right.
And he does this blog, and he actually did a blog on this when it first happened. So since this happened, in the weeks since this, he's done a lot of investigating. He looked at all the weather instruments, did all of his weathery type things, and he did put out a blog of what he feels is the explanation for this event. He calls it the ultimate solution. And I'll link to it. You can go through and read it. It's a whole lot of weather related.
Like a Bigfoot rave.
Yeah, it is just all kinds of stuff. But the thing I got from it, the thing I took away is at the end, he said, all of this could be a possible solution for what happened.
Right.
Which means it's not the ultimate solution because he doesn't really know.
Right.
That's just his opinion of what happened.
The ultimate solution. It sounds like an Ozzy Osbourne album.
Yeah. He called it The Strange Case of the Quinault Blowdown because it's like the Quinault Lake.
That's a terrible title.
Yeah, the ultimate solution.
I like Ultimate Solution a lot better.
Well, it's in there. But I
ultimate is happening now.
I don't feel like he can say it's the ultimate solution if it's not 100% verified. It's just his idea of what happened.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. It's a mashup.
It's just,
Ultimate Sin, Suicide Solution.
I just want to think that
You don't listen to a lot of Ozzy.
I don't.
I know.
I feel like a huge UFO just straight down landed.
Yeah.
Blew them all over, flew away.
I mean,
that's my opinion. That's my ultimate solution.
It could have happened. I mean, it's crazy how it looked. I've seen the pictures. The problem is if a microburst happens in the woods and nobody's around to hear it,
did it really happen? I don't know. It'll remain a mystery. We'll just say that one's going to remain a mystery now.
Sure. Those are beautiful trees, though, that they lost.
Were. Yes.
They were the huge, like the ones you look at and you're like, the ages. I mean, they're huge.
You can't get your arms around them kind of thing.
Right.
They're humongous.
They eat hobbits when they nap on them, that kind of big tree.
Everything goes back to the hobbits.
It's a good part of the story. It's not in the movie or anything.
So do they really eat them?
The trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that. I haven't read the book.
Okay, so yeah, in the book, when they're first going on their adventure, and Frodo and his merry little companions, they go through the woods, and this is before they meet Tom Bombadil.
Right, who's also not in the movie.
Yeah.
I did know about Tom Bombadil.
So they fall asleep, and they knew that the trees were angry. because
Right.
a while back some people had like burned some trees. So all the trees are pretty angry, and they mess with you and screw with you in the forest. And so they got to this one tree, and they were just like, man, they were so tired. So they all rested on like the opposite sides of this huge tree, and they fell asleep. And of course the tree like ate them. It like swallowed them up. And
Wow.
I don't think it got Frodo, but Merry and Pippin were totally inside,
Wow.
and they were screaming.
Yeah, so that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, and Tom Bombadil over there, and
It's interesting.
yeah, and he's like, oh, Tom Bombadil, Bombadil, oh, little, open up now, tree, open up, Mr. Tree, Bombadil. Yeah. So anyway. It
Wow.
all goes back to Tolkien.
It does. All right. Well, this next story is just about an interesting.
I can't believe I just told a whole Hobbit story.
an interesting discovery that has archaeologists stumped.
Oh, the archaeologists are stumped.
Or stumped, yes. It's the mystery of 8,000-year-old impaled human heads.
Oh.
And I thought that you would like this story.
I do. It sounds like probably like my ancestry DNA right there.
Well, it's actually a phenomenon that they've never before encountered in Mesolithic Scandinavia.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, yay. Ding, 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 ding. See, it was totally people from my people.
It was. So they just published the study
Just
this
hang 'em right out
week
there.
in the journal
Nobody
Antiquity.
else tries.
But they actually found these back in 2011, but they've just now published this study on it.
Right.
But at the excavation site, they found 8,000-year-old skulls of 9 adults and 1 infant that were found deliberately placed on these large stones, and they had stakes in them.
Do they have to say deliberate? I mean, when a head is on a freaking spike.
No, they were deliberately placed on a layer of stones with spikes
so
in them.
they have to say deliberate.
Yes. So they got the impression that it was done, with staking, and it was some kind of,
Ritual.
right, or display or something of that sort.
Like, here's my head.
They said 2 of the skulls were female, 4 were male, and 2 belonged to people between the ages of 20 and 35. That's all they know about them, basically. And it said that the skulls show obvious injuries, like there's blunt force trauma.
Yeah. There's a stake through the freaking.
So obviously these people were either injured in battle or were deliberately killed, and they and they put them on display. And like I said, it was like the earliest they've ever seen this in this culture. So
Wow.
I whenever I found out it was Scandinavia, I was not surprised. I was like, yeah,
So
heads on stakes. It
Viking
seems
culture, I mean, I don't know. That's just really that. How do they know the age? Did you say the age?
No, they know the age of 2 of the skulls, like the age of the people. They don't know. There's not a year on here about how it says 8,000-year-old skulls. There's not like a distinct.
Jeez,
year.
really? 8,000-year-old skulls.
8,000-year-old. Yes.
Jeez.
It's very, very old. And so they couldn't.
I mean, that's really old to find it like that.
It is. And it actually said that they there was also animal bones like kind of arranged around,
Right.
which makes it seem very ritualistic to me. And they did do sacrifices and things like that.
No, it does.
So,
It does. But I mean, you got to think, man. That's like 5,000 BC.
Yeah.
And in that I mean, that's pre-Viking.
well, it said Mesolithic, so it's very, very old.
That's freaking Stone Age.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's very cool. So they've always been barbaric there.
Apparently in Scandinavia,
I tell
they've
you,
just been
man.
that way.
Yeah. It's John the Viking. Because that's totally what I always talk about that.
You do. I believe what you say is if you stake one, the rest will stay away.
Yeah, all you got to do is kill the first guy. I mean, I have unfortunately had a fight with more than one person before.
Right.
I always go after the big one because normally, if you're crazy enough to go
Right.
after the big guy, they're all like, "Oh, the hell with him."
Yeah, that guy's crazy.
The hell
We're
with
leaving.
this. So I mean, yeah, you just spike the guy. Toss the head off, put it on a good spike, and put it out front.
everybody else
You're good to go.
Yeah, it kind of deters other people.
Basically, for me, and of course that wouldn't be modern day, but for me, that would be like my Stone Age ADT sign. You know how people put the ADT security sign in the front yard?
Even if they don't have a security system.
Well, I did that without the security system. I used to carry mine around with me. Whenever we would move, I'd put it in the yard. It's just as good as having ADT.
I swear we have one this time, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to have a security system here. But no, I believe that's the prehistoric ADT.
I guess so, yes.
It's like, all right, yeah, here's your security system.
Gonna happen.
It'd be cool, like if there was guys back then that actually came door to door and sold the security systems, and they carried like they had a couple of slaves on chains behind them, and the slaves are like really hoping this guy didn't make the sale. They're like, how you doing, sire? Just want to see if you'd like be interested in security.
And they're shaking their heads. Back
there. And he just topped off the head, put him in the yard. Guaranteed that nobody's going to mess with you. Anyway, big fan of Vlad the Impaler.
Well, that's not a sentence you hear every day.
It's really not, and it really explains a whole lot. So
it does. All right, so let's move on. So this is a story about.
I love animals, though.
Do you? Okay.
I love animals. There's one of the signs of being psychotic or something is that you're mean to animals.
Oh, I see.
I would never be cruel to babies or animals.
Right.
I just don't like grown people.
I'm sure there's an illness for that too.
Continue.
All right, so you're not going to be surprised at this story. It is about a large chunk of ice that has fallen from the sky and almost killed somebody.
What is going on?
And I actually have two.
Oh no, Serenity now.
So I'm gonna step back here for a second.
Yeah,
okay?
Watch out for the eyes.
We've actually done stories like this quite a bit.
Yes.
And this isn't something you normally hear about.
No.
But I went back to look, and there was actually a story back in March of 2016 of a huge ice chunk in Pennsylvania.
That we did.
That just fell out of the sky. I don't remember if we did this. I'm pretty sure we did this one. It fell out of the sky and hit a car in a car lot and broke the windshield.
Yes, we did that one because I talked, yeah.
And landed in, like, while they were selling cars, like people were standing there and here it came.
Right.
And then go to September 2017.
10,000. 8,000.
In the UK, there was the big ice chunk that landed in the people's backyard, and we did that on the sideshow.
Yeah, because we laughed hard.
Yeah, we laughed because I was like, that would hit my husband and then melt, and then I'd be like, I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, we had a really good time with that one.
So then in November in Chino, California, someone had one fall through the roof of their house and land in their bathtub.
Yes.
And then just a couple weeks later in December in San Bernardino, California. And we did that one also just recently. The ice fell and the people were watching TV and it fell in their bedroom.
Right.
And went through the roof. So now I've got another one from the UK, and this one got caught on tape. And it was just this huge chunk of ice that just fell over London and like smashed into the roadway and just barely missed people.
Right.
Just barely. And huge boom. People, you see everybody jump, just absolutely crazy. And of course, the airlines don't comment. Everybody's saying, well, this has to be ice from a plane. It has to be ice from a plane. But nobody at the airports will say, yes, that's from a plane. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they won't say that that's what it is.
Well, I mean, even if it is ice from a plane, that's not something that happens it's one of those things. It's a phenomenon now that's happening way too much.
Yeah, I agree. And that's like the one we talked about in San Bernardino. That woman lived in that house for like decades, 30 years, I think, and never had a problem.
Okay, I've seen the video on this. It's a huge
chunk of
ice. I mean, this is a huge man-killing chunk of ice. Whoever that would hit is dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah. And I think it almost hit somebody. Like, it was very close.
And this didn't look like it was from a plane. And if this was a problem with planes, I believe they would fix that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're dropping it was almost the equivalent of the old Monty Python when you've seen like the 1 ton weight like drop out and just go, the video is kind of like that. It's not like a little chunk of pee. It's crazy, and you got to wonder with some of the sky trumpets that we've heard and the mysterious booms, is there weird phenomena happening now where all of a sudden you've got this big chunk of ice falling.
And they're big chunks of ice. Like the first one in Pennsylvania, it was like football size, but the rest of these have been much bigger.
It's terrifying.
Much bigger. Well, I do have a second story, and it's not exactly like these other ones, because the second one, I'm pretty sure, did come from a passenger jet, because they're calling it a poop meteor.
Oh, no.
Because it was nasty and brown in color.
Oh, no.
I think that the word for it is blue ice. It's not actually blue, but that's what they call it when they dump the bathroom stuff.
Yeah.
So this was a 22 plus pound fragment, and it reportedly landed
22 pounds?
22 pounds of ice, and it reportedly landed with
Somebody
a big
was
thud.
punishing that toilet. Jesus.
In this little village in India. So,
excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you still in it? We really need to go out here on the. It's a plane, ma'am. Could you please hurry?
Well,
1 second.
Well, the problem with
Poop
the
meteor.
one that fell in India is the people didn't know what it was, and they believed that it was some kind of
God.
extraterrestrial object, and that it may have had, been special. So they believe that some of the villagers may have broken some pieces off and taken them home and put them in their freezers.
Oh, please.
Because they believed it was a celestial rock, and they feel like they're keeping it. They've been keeping them in their icebox to preserve it, and what they've done is they've broken off pieces of frozen poo and taken it home, and who knows what they're doing with it.
You're the one that always tells me it doesn't matter what the object is as long as you put the belief into it.
I guess so.
So if they've got the deity do,
right?
I mean, maybe it works for them. I'm going to start marketing it though.
Well, the thing about
deity do.
deity do.
Wow.
Well, now in India, they do actually have a problem with this, with planes.
With poop?
With planes releasing.
Oh, poop.
Yeah, poop over villages. Because back in 2016, they announced that they would be starting to fine any airline found to be disposing their human waste in midair. So it's an issue there.
Right.
But again, it doesn't come out like clear ice, like these other chunks of ice. It comes out with the poo in it.
That's
and the
disgusting.
nasty in it. And all these other instances where the ice has fallen, the ice has been, just white.
Right.
And not nasty.
Yeah.
So this one was a little different, but I thought it was hilarious. I thought you'd enjoy hearing about
And
the
now,
poo
I'm
meteor.
telling you, we've talked about it several times. I won't go deep into it, but the very fact that my Uncle Joe got hit with a turd. I mean, the very fact that
You have the strangest family. I don't have stories like that. I don't have stories where my relatives were, electrocuted and hit with poo and, my family's just not like that.
Well, he got a good deal on the property. And it's right at the very tail end of the Tri-Cities airport.
Right.
So the planes, I mean, right when they take off right over the house, So when they're coming in, obviously, if they're going to dump, they'll dump right there. We're just having that 4th of July party out in the yard. And all of a sudden you start hearing Joe just screaming. And he was like really groggy looking. And he had got hit with a turd, like a flying turd from a plane.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing it didn't kill him. I mean,
I'm amazed your family has survived this long at all.
I know.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Wildly successful family, though, because we could survive flying poo.
Apparently. Yes. And electrocution.
Yes.
All right. So let's move on. And this is a story out of Russia.
Oh,
And
ski.
it's about the police there. The police have sought help from a church on a poltergeist case.
Oh,
Yes. So the priest had to be called to a private house in a small village,
right.
kind of near the regional capital. It's called Tomsk.
Uh-huh.
And they were called because there were some weird things going on at the home. In the home is a married couple and their 15-year-old adopted son.
Right.
And they were claiming that pieces of furniture were collapsing inside the house and chairs were flying and things were going on. So they called the police. And when the law enforcement team arrived, the house is in a mess and things were being thrown around. There was a knife stuck in the wall, just chaos. And the police officers claimed that they felt the power of something that they could not explain rationally. and they saw a couple things fall and fly around, so they immediately just called a priest to come and help the family. They actually filed an official report describing everything that happened. And they went to the local church, and the priest was sent to the scene, and he did do like a blessing ritual that was supposed to kind of calm evil spirits and things like that. And he talked to the family, they prayed, that sort of thing. Supposedly the poltergeist calmed down a bit, but then it did continue.
Wow.
Even after the priest came. So I think the priest is continuing to work with the family.
Holy cow.
But I thought it was really interesting.
That's awesome.
That this was a whole news story that they actually did an official report, the police did, and the priest actually put his, description in there that he witnessed everything the family said was going on. Like, he actually witnessed the activity, and it all went into this official police report.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
think so.
that's a really good story. You don't hear.
I mean, it's terrible that's happening to that family, but it's amazing that,
Of course, I'm upset about that. But other than that, I mean, that's really amazing. That's you don't ever get those.
I thought it was interesting that it's a poltergeist and that they have a teenage son.
Yeah,
an adopted teenage son, because that sometimes is a thing.
Yeah,
that the teenagers, it's normally girls, but
still adolescent.
Yeah, that the adolescents can cause that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
So I wish they had gone into more detail about the actual haunting, but it wasn't really a story about the actual haunting. So the news story was just about them getting the priest to help.
That's insane.
Yes, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I love it. I mean, especially having the official reports. I would like to. I would like to find out more about that. I mean, it's Russia. You got to watch out for the whole collusion aspect. But I mean, I would like to find out more about that.
Well, I'll keep looking. I don't know if they'll ever come out with another news story, but you never know. Local paper.
You really don't. Yeah.
You never know. Okay, I got a couple more stories here. Okay. So this is another strange thing that happened. This is about a woman whose niece was recently killed.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
It is. And she got some mysterious phone calls from her niece's cell phone.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the whole
the phone thing,
weird. Yes. So her niece was a New York model, and she went to Jamaica. She was looking for work or doing something in Jamaica, and she was murdered.
Oh.
And so recently she received a phone call from her deceased niece's phone. And when she went to answer it, the line was silent. So then she received a second call, but was not able to answer it. So when she tried to call the number back, she actually got a message that the phone was not in service.
Wow.
So she got 2 phone calls and nothing on the other end. And obviously the phone, at first I thought, well, maybe they just gave the number to somebody else, but she tried to call it back and said that it was actually not in service. And the whole death is mysterious anyway. They never solved it. It's suspicious. She doesn't feel like the investigation was done well or quickly enough. Like, it was moving slowly.
With the
right, and questions weren't being answered, that kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure what her niece was doing. She did say that she was an aspiring documentary filmmaker. So, the whole thing is just very mysterious.
It is.
And then it's weird that she got the phone calls.
I've had a lot of stories, people along my personal journeys that have told me, that's one that happens a lot. They told me, look, I don't believe in all this hokey pokey stuff, and but so and so passed, and then a couple of weeks went by, and I got a phone call from their, I got a text message, voicemail the day they died, but it was after they died.
Right.
I've had people tell me face to face about this stuff, and several times, and here, even since we've moved up here, I've had people tell me about that. The energy or the ghost or whatever that's left, calling, and
it's crazy. I don't know what I would do if I got a phone call like that.
Well, hopefully you would answer it.
Well, there wouldn't be anything on the other line.
Yeah,
on the other end, though. Very strange.
Yeah,
very strange. All right, last story. And I thought this one was kind of interesting. This is about a study that was done by a professor, Michael Varnum, from Arizona State University. And he's presenting findings of his study at this conference. And he says that Earthlings
Yes.
all of us Earthlings, are likely to welcome alien life rather than panicking. He thinks that we will all be just fine and dandy if we find out that aliens are real.
Right.
Because of his study. So what he did was he used this language analyzing software where he analyzed people's reactions to different articles.
Right.
Things that had come up that related to alien life, things like that. And also that he put out a few different false, like he gave people false articles about finding alien life and that sort of thing.
Right.
And then he, that was like 500 people. And then he got another 500 individuals, online random individuals. And he asked them questions about it and gauged their responses. And overall, he feels that everything was more positive than negative.
Right.
On a funny side note, he did say that almost everybody that he did the study with claimed that they felt like they were more apt to accept it than other people.
Right.
Like,
Right.
kind of like, well, I'm okay with it, but everybody else in general is kind of silly and they're not going to.
That's interesting because that's normally what,
That's normally what people say. There's actually a name for that, for thinking that your values would be better than everybody else's.
Right.
But I thought this was kind of funny because 1,000 people to me doesn't seem like a large study group when you're comparing to, and they were all Americans too. Everything was in the U.S.
Yeah, it's not, but I will tell you this much: in the last 5 years or so, it's changed.
It has,
and
it has.
It's completely different now. I believe that they would be more willing, more open. It seems like they've this slow disclosure. The conversation has happened where it's not as hokey to have the conversation anymore.
Right.
People with all the exoplanet findings and and there was just another big batch.
Yeah, like 95 or something crazy.
And it's just it happens now so much. You don't even pull it as news stories because it happens so much.
We would just be saying it every week.
Every week. And so with all this stuff that they found and the Pentagon footage coming out, it's right now it's so desensitized and the world itself has taken this weird turn. Everything, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. We say, this didn't used to happen, this didn't used to happen. Values are different. Things have just changed. I think that they've been building us up for something. And
absolutely.
So
yes, very slowly.
I have to agree that the only thing I can see it hurting is the church. And in fact, the Catholic Church might have that guy dead by the time we have our next show.
You never know.
Because it's kind of like big pharma, big oil,
right? I feel like
Catholic Church.
I feel like people would be okay finding out that there are aliens, but they would not be okay finding out that they've known that they were aliens for how long?
Yeah. Well, they'd have to explain why they allowed them to do what they did.
Right. I think that would be the problem.
With the abductions and stuff. I think that with the answer of the universe and religion, that you'd be able to get around that, by saying, sure, they share the same God or whatever.
Right.
It wasn't for us to know or to question. It all comes back to that stuff. I do believe there's a way to get around it.
Right.
And it's just interesting. I don't know. I think we're at a point now where it's important that they bring disclosure of all the facts. Let's just say that they're not hiding some super secret. Okay.
Right.
And they are getting just, but they have had recovery crews and they have reverse engineered things. And it's all been more in the name of being greedy about not wanting to share technology. I think.
Well, not letting other countries know what they can do and what they can't do.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Like they want to be able to use this technology and be able, just like a superhero movie.
Right.
They want to be able to use it first. And it's all about the money. It's all about profiteering and whatnot. But it's time. It's time.
So.
It's time to let people know. And even if they do go into street, I'm sorry, do they not do that now? Do we not have freaking protests and cities burn down when people win freaking games?
True. True.
It's like, hey, our team just won. Let's burn the city down. It's a weird time.
It is a very strange time. But I agree with you. I think that I think that it would be an okay time. Like they could start
We need to have the conversation.
letting that out. Yes.
It's time to have the talk.
Yes, I agree. So that was my last story, but I did want to ask you, did you see the video about the guy who claims he's a time traveler?
Which one?
There's this one, and I thought this was really funny. I think he calls himself Noah, and he's like from 2038 or something like that. And he came out a while back and said that he was from the future, and he gave all these predictions about the future.
Okay.
But they were all really vague. They were things like they were things that were going to happen.
Right.
Except he did say like things like Donald Trump was going to be the president in 2020 again, and like you'll learn about time travel, pretty soon, and just things that we're working towards anyway. Very vague things.
Right.
And so everybody decided that he was just a hoaxer. So recently he decided he was going to do a lie detector test to prove that he was really a time traveler. So he put this video out of him taking a lie detector test, only you can't see the lie detector. You just see him in a chair with a thing on his finger. and somebody's asking him questions and he'll answer it, and then at the top somebody put like true or telling the truth or not, whatever, but you can't actually see the lie detector machine
or the results.
Exactly. I don't know, I just thought that was really funny. I was like, wow,
yeah,
hoaxers try a little harder than that.
Yeah. So I mean, no, I haven't seen that. I've seen some clickbait things with an older gentleman.
Yes, there's been quite a few.
Yeah. Really
recently. I might have to compile all those.
Yeah, with the time travel. I've seen quite a few of the time travel cats. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know.
I only brought it up because I feel like that's something that we're working on for real.
I believe personally, personal beliefs, that we do have a deal with extraterrestrials. And mm-hmm. I believe that time travel is not exactly the way that you would imagine. I think that we're using like a crystal to mm-hmm. look at certain areas in time mm-hmm. That we would like to see, and some kind of technology wise that we're mm-hmm. connecting with. Maybe they have ways to actually physically turn us into atoms and send us back through time, or other dimensions and whatnot. Mm-hmm. One of the places I want to go investigate's a place where the interdimensional deal really comes into play, and it's up here in the Northeast, because we were just looking at it the other day about maybe finding a way to go there. But it was a place where a very famous group went in and was asking for a certain lady, and she heard them and came back and was just like, who are you there?
Yeah,
who's there?
Like she was asking for them.
Yeah, like they were the ghost.
Right.
And
it's crazy.
Opens a lot of questions.
It does.
Once you think you have the answers, something happens that really changes the game, changes everything on that. I will say, I do want to give you a funny one here, and I'm going to give full credit to Alan Marston on this.
Okay.
I'm looking at this eBay thing for an antique Dybbuk haunted box, and from my private occult collection.
Right.
And the thing about this, it'll be ended by the time, it might have an hour left by the time we get the show out, but no, I think it'll be ended. It's got 15 hours.
It'll probably be ended.
But $45.99. One bid, probably Marston. And 100% positive seller feedback. Returns not accepted.
Of course not.
28 are watching. The quick seller's notes is used antique box, marked up, sealed with wax and old twine, some type of plant material on top, possibly a yellow rose. Wax is kind of delicate and old, so handle with some care. Please wear gloves. We do, as the item is evil. So the item ends Sunday at 3:55 p.m. Let me do the item description here, okay? This is crazy.
Okay.
Warning, this piece is an authentic antique occult collector's piece from my father's collection. Real paranormal activity and possible danger to an unskilled person in the field. The box was labeled Pennsylvania Witch Case, Malevolent. I would like to sell this only to someone who knows how to keep it a controlled environment or bind its power in some way. High level activity and deep history of this being a dark magic box from a case my father worked on many years ago. I'm selling this box because of health reasons that are possibly caused from this item. I'm sorry to have to sell this evil thing. We just pray maybe someone else would know how to contain this box and what's in it. We have never opened it or directly touched it. The box was passed down to me along with other haunted items by my parents' estate. They were paranormal investigators for over 30 years and would often remove and store occult items collected from their cases. When I received these items upon my father's death a few months ago, I stored them in my basement. However, since that time, my entire family has heard noises and growls as well as screaming coming from there. Usually late at night, me and my children and at least 2 of my neighbors have seen a woman apparition walking from the basement door down the hall. She is skinny with her hair done up in a bun and a long black dress on. She screams, it sounds distant, and cries and doesn't seem to have any eyes. You can't see arms or hands either, but she appears to be barefoot. We had seen her about 2 or 3 times a week until my husband put the box in a crate and nailed it shut. The next day, the nails were all rusty, bent and pulled out, and all laying on the floor along with the box, which was upside down. The box normally smells quite pleasant, as I believe it may have an old rose under the twine and the black wax, but at times a very foul smell seems to come from it. It can make you throw up. I just want rid of this thing and will not take it back. I can't promise what will or will not happen, and I can't guarantee your safety if you buy it. Wear gloves while handling this. It is evil. It is very dark and obviously used to try to bind or contain something or someone. Please bid with care. Best wishes. I will try to answer any questions, but many of the notes from the investigations were burned years ago.
Well, that raises some questions.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I read the whole thing, but
no, that's okay. That was really unusual.
I just found it very interesting.
I'm curious why, if she wants rid of it so bad, she doesn't just get rid of it instead of selling it.
From Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas.
And then my second question is, what if she sells it and whatever's haunting her is attached to one of those other items?
Yeah, I don't know.
And not the box.
I don't know. I think I might buy this.
You can bid on it if you want. That'd be kind of cool. You can't touch it though. We have problems with that.
Yeah, I know, and I always touch it.
You can't touch it.
That's just really insane. So we'll talk about this as soon as we go off air.
Okay.
And I might actually buy that.
Okay.
Just because.
Okay.
And
you want to make sure Marston's not bidding on it first.
It's I don't know, that's crazy. And isn't that a crazy description?
It is, and the picture is very strange.
And it's also, I would like to know who her parents were, because going back, we've been investigating 20 years. People that's been investigating 30 years. Normally we all kind of know, or at least have heard of you at some point.
Right, and if it was somebody doing a Pennsylvania witch case.
Yeah, the Pennsylvania witch case.
That's crazy.
That sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really cool. So I wanted to leave you on that terrible disappointment.
Okay, so I think we're all done with the news now.
All right. Well, that was an interesting way to end. And once again, I apologize for reading that whole thing, but my God, that's interesting. And especially if I buy it.
Yes, that would be very interesting.
Why not? We should get it and send it to a family member.
Get it and put it away somewhere.
No, yeah. I mean, that would be 2 that we know of in the state, right? Mm-hmm. Of interesting ones, at least. But no, I mean, a lot of crazy stories today. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was really insane stories.
Yes, very crazy stuff.
We didn't have to elaborate on a whole lot of it because they're just insane by themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. From the skier to, just the flying poop. It was a crazy day.
Them taking it home. Oh,
yeah.
God.
I mean, come on. Flying. What was it? A poop meteor?
A poop meteor is what they called it.
God.
Big chunk of poop ice.
For more on that, ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where you go to find out everything poo meteors. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. There's a lot of poo on there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. It is absolutely compacted with poo. Instagram, Hot Poo Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. There is so much poo there. Available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, however you want to listen. That's where our podcast is available. And we will not throw poo at you for listening, we promise you, until I get my monkey that I want to own. We need you to like, review, subscribe, share, If you love it, please tell a friend. If you hate it, tell an enemy, but just tell someone about the show. It's a grassroots thing, my friends, and we are trying to grow as much as we can. We love each and every single one of you. For my lovely, sexy wife, Stacy, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.